A combination square is a measuring tool you use when building with wood, masonry, or metal to make sure something's straight, even, and level. It's essentially a ruler with interchangeable sliding heads. The most basic head, called a square, measures 90 and 45-degree angles. This combination square comes with 3 heads. They lock into a groove on one side of the blade. The blade starts out grooved but blank. So to etch the graduations into it, they first coat the surfaces with photoresist, a chemical that hardens when exposed to ultraviolet light. Then they flash UV light on both sides of the blade through polyester film negatives of the graduations. The light hardens only the photoresist it hits through the clear parts. The rest remains soft. After manually masking the groove, workers put the blade through a photochemical etching machine. It washes off the soft photoresist that's in the pattern of the graduations, then hits that bared steel with a metal-eating salt solution, etching the graduations into the blade. Everything else is masked by hardened photoresist, which they wash off afterward. The blade measures in imperial units. They set it in this machine, which registers the location of the 1-inch mark. Then grinds down the end of the blade until it's precisely 1 inch from that line. They run the blade through a sandblaster. It shoots glass beads onto the steel surface to make it microscopically rough. This will give the chrome plating a matte rather than glossy finish, making the graduations easier to read. Before plating, they clean the blade by dipping it in acid. Then they submerge it in the electroplating tank for about 15 seconds. Now the steel blade, with its graduations on both sides, is plated in chrome. The next step is called black filling. They apply black enamel paint to both sides of the blade, then wipe the surface clean. The black remains in the recessed graduations, making the numbers and lines easier to read. 15 minutes in an oven to bake on the black fill, then a quality control inspection, and the blade is finished. Meanwhile, in another part of the factory, this computer-guided machine uses both milling and drilling tools to machine forged pieces of steel into heads. This is the forged square head before and after machining to its finished shape. The next step is to harden the steel. They place the head into a furnace for 3 minutes at more than 1472 degrees Fahrenheit. The head comes out covered in black soot, so they sandblast it clean. The surface is now prepped for painting. They apply powdered paint electrostatically, running a positive electrical charge to the head and a negative one to the paint. This draws the paint to the part like a magnet, coating the entire surface in an even layer. A 45-minute trip through an oven bakes on the paint. Then they mount the head on a computer-guided machine that grinds that paint off the head's angle-measuring surfaces. They install the head's bubble level. First, they insert a white paper background, which makes it easier to see the air bubble. Then they insert the glass vial containing the bubble floating in a glucose solution. A dab of plaster at both ends holds the vial in its designated slot. They assemble the lock bolt that holds the head in the blade's groove. They mount it with a spring and a washer to prevent the lock from rotating and secure it with a nut. Then they close up the bubble level slot with an end cap. They run the unpainted angle measuring surfaces against a buffing wheel to polish the steel to a shine. The last step, inserting a scribing awl into its slot. You use the awl to make a scratch mark when you take a measurement. Now, the final assembly. The square head, the protractor head, and the center head. All 3 come on the combination square, but when using the tool, you install only one at a time.